Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Craig DeLuz with the Farmers Policy Coalition, and I am at the Gun Rights Policy Conference 2022 in Dallas, Texas, meeting and talking with all the movers and shakers in the 2A community. And right now, we have a real mover and a shaker. We have with us the author of Stalked and Defenseless, Nikki. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you pronounced it correct.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so it's Stalked and Defenseless. And I wrote this to try and help educate people about the dangers of gun-free zones. My husband, Ben, was murdered right in front of me by a man who was stalking me. And because of Tennessee state law at that time, 13 years ago, I had to leave my legal permitted firearm that I normally carried for self-defense locked inside of my vehicle because my husband and I were in a restaurant that was a gun-free zone. Of course, I followed the law. And the man who was stalking me, of course, he did not have a handgun carry permit. He brought a gun into a gun-free zone illegally. And when I asked management to please remove him, because I realized I was being stalked, when they confronted him and asked him to leave, he pulled a .45 from a shoulder holster under his jacket and shot Ben 7 times right in front of me and everyone in the middle of this busy restaurant. And I'll probably wonder for the rest of my life if I could have prevented that. Of course, I'll never know because I was stalked and defenseless. You know, I was denied a chance, and I don't ever want someone else to go through that. Nobody ever really thinks that something this horrific can happen to them. But I tell people, evil can visit you anywhere at any time. And I don't want people to be paranoid, but I do want them to be prepared because you just never know.
Well, and that's one of the points of getting a concealed carry permit or a concealed pistol permit. The point of it is that you want to be prepared, right? If you need medical attention, that's why you take first aid, right? In case if there's a fire, you want to make sure you're prepared and you've got a fire extinguisher. Why wouldn't you want to have the tools necessary to be able to defend yourself or your loved one in a situation like this? And that quite frankly, that right of very human right of self-defense to defend yourself and your loved ones was taken away from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I have to live with for the rest of my life. And those images I'll never forget from that night. And I don't want other people to go through that. You know, I tell people if you end up having to defend yourself or your loved ones, you're going to have images in your mind that you probably don't want to remember. But I would much rather remember having to stop a bad guy than to see my loved one killed. And that's a memory that will be forever etched in my mind. And it's horrifying. And it's very hard to move on from that. I've done my best over the past 13 years to try and turn a horrible situation into something that can, you know, help educate others and empower people, especially women, about the basic human right of self-defense and why it's so important.
Well, you know, the anti-gun community is very good at bringing family members of those who've died during violence incidents that have involved firearms. And I think it's important to have someone with your perspective who can share their story about what happens once again when people aren't allowed or given that opportunity. Now, do you do a lot of? Do you probably do a lot of public speaking? Do you do any testimony or anything like that before legislative bodies?
Yes, I actually. Well, I don't know. I mean, yes, I've testified in the, before the Ohio legislature for their restaurant carry bill years ago, and they ended up passing that. So in Ohio, the law has changed. As long as you've got your handgun carry permit, you can carry in restaurants that serve alcohol, as long as you're not drinking. Same for Tennessee, North Carolina also. But yeah, I testified before, the U.S. Senate actually against red flag laws and I told them, you know, these types of laws are unconstitutional. They completely ignore due process, and you know, they can have real unintended consequences for victims of violent crime like myself. And I gave myself as an example. I said, you know, I had a very difficult time after Ben was murdered. You can imagine what something like that would do. I was very scared, very concerned for my safety. But I was also depressed, you know. And I think that's normal. Yeah. I mean, if anybody loses their spouse, you know, they're going to be depressed, and that's normal. Was I ever suicidal? No. But I do remember going to bed at night and thinking, you know what, if the good Lord wants to take me in the middle of the night, I'm okay with that, because this is really difficult. You know, I would think to myself, well, maybe I just won't wake up. Now, did I want to kill myself? No. But you can see how someone may misinterpret that.
Right.
Even someone who's very well-meaning may misinterpret that. And under red flag laws, you know, they can come and take your guns away. Think what that would do to someone like me. A stalker murdered my husband in front of me. I'm very concerned for my safety. And then my basic human right of self-defense is taken away from me with no due process.
Right. And even at home, you're now in a position where you already feel vulnerable. And now, because you didn't know they were coming. For those of you who don't know, most red flag laws are ex parte. The hearings are ex parte, which means you don't get to be there. So you don't even know that they're coming for your firearms. You know, that's it. It's almost like being victimized again.
It is being victimized again. It would be. Absolutely. Yeah.
It is a hard one. And the hardest part is, and once again, with red flag laws in particular, is that the worst part about it is that it doesn't just violate the right to keep and bear arms, but it violates due process. Because, by the way, due process where you don't get to have your voice heard. You don't get to be heard until after they've already taken away both your rights and your property.
Yeah, and that's not due process.
Right. And in California, they have this thing called a gun seizure warrant, where they can actually come, search your home, search your business, wherever they think you own a firearm. It's a bad deal. It's just overall is a bad deal. So now, what are you doing? Are you doing anything in particular professionally relating to the book or anything like that?
Well, I work for the Crime Prevention Research Center.
Right.
I'm executive director. But yeah, we were talking. I used to work in D.C. for Congressman Thomas Massey. I was his executive director for the Congressional Second Amendment Caucus. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it?
That is.
And I really loved working for him, but I did not like living in that area.
Yeah.
D.C., it's just not hospitable. I did not like it. So I ended up going back home to Tennessee, but I miss Congressman Massey. He was a great boss. But Dr. John Lott's a great boss. And, you know, I just do what I can to try to help educate people. We actually went to Brazil and Peru and spoke with people there. They kind of had their own little SHOT Show type thing in Brazil. And they were very, very nice people. And they want to be able to protect themselves and protect themselves in more places. A lot of women are very concerned about their safety. And I was really surprised with how many women were there. I was like, this is pretty cool, actually.
Interestingly, Brazil being the murder capital of the world, by the way, yeah, very, very strict gun laws. Although I believe that, from what I understand, at least a couple of years ago, there was a big movement amongst many political leaders to want to loosen some of those laws in order for people to be able to defend themselves.
Yeah, it's gotten better, and I think the crime has started to go down. But apparently, there's a liberal that's wanting to be the president and change all those laws again.
Right.
So hopefully that won't happen, but we'll see.
Well, I think you're in a good place with the Crime Prevention Research Center. There are very few places we have to go to get information and data on I'll say objective, but real information and data on what's going on with firearms and firearm uses, both in self-defense but also in crime. So the information you provide for policy making or policy entities like the Firearms Policy Coalition is vital.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. We very much appreciate the work that you folks are doing.
Happy to do it. And also we talk about true life stories of people, that are able to protect themselves. Justifiable use of force stories are hardly ever covered in the mainstream media. And we try to go and find those stories that do happen to make it out there. Local news channels, will cover it. And then we compile those and put them on our website. And I think it's important for people to understand that guns help save lives every single day in this country.
Yes.
Guns are not bad. I'm a victim of what so many people call, gun violence. I call it violence. Violence
Right.
is a behavior. It's not an object.
Right.
And I think it's really, really important that people understand that guns are not bad.
Right.
People can be bad, but guns are not bad.
I hear you. Where can folks follow you? Where can they get your book? Where can they follow the work that you're doing?
Sure. Well, my book, Stalked and Defenseless, you can find that at Amazon. And you can also go to my website, stalkedanddefenseless.com. And then the Crime Prevention Research Center, we're at crimeresearch.org.
Excellent. Nikki, thank you so much for coming on the program, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to be it for this interview. Going to be looking around, see if we can find some more folks to bring on and chit-chat with you. So we'll be back hopefully in just a few minutes. You folks take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.